Hello, everybody, and welcome to P. Parker's movie review of The Justice League 2017, directed by Zack Snyder and DC. Before I get into this, I just want to say I apologize for not making videos recently. It was the holidays, and I was off visiting family and whatnot. So I do apologize, but I am back, and I'm hoping to crank out a lot of videos this upcoming week, so be prepared, and again, thank you for your patience. Alright, let's get right into this. So Justice League came out fairly recently, and I know a lot of people went out to see it, but I also know a lot of people have been fairly skeptical about it just because it's DC and what they brought. So we have a star-studded cast. This is the first time we get to see the Justice League on picture and live action-wise at least, and I just want to say overall I actually enjoyed it. I thought I had a lot of fun with it. I think just as a person who owns 2 Flash t-shirts, it was fun to see the Flash on screen. It was fun to see them all on screen and kind of sit next to each other. Now, yes, this movie has huge problems, and yes, it has small problems, and yes, it's kind of just a mess overall, but it's still a very enjoyable film, and it's a very fun film at the same time. So we start off with the film by going off into Steppenwolf and his background, and we get these 3 mother boxes, one for man, one for the Atlanteans, and one for the Amazonians. So from there, we kind of see Steppenwolf going after each one individually, and we kind of get his backstory at the same time. And we see Batman kind of trying to search for clues on the scouts and other stuff as to what is coming, what threat is really coming, and trying to find a plan to solve that threat and save humanity. So Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, this is his, pretty much, I'm giving it as his second take on Batman, even though he wasn't Suicide Squad. This is really his second time getting a lot of film time as Batman. I think as Bruce Wayne, he kills it as always, but he's still not nailing Batman as I'd like to see him nail Batman. But I also think that's not 100% his fault. I think it's on the writing. I think that's on just how the studio is really looking at Batman and looking at this universe, really. Because I don't think there's that attention. There's not that, creative control that Marvel really has on lock, and I think that's something DC could pick up on, but I also think DC does some things very well at the same time. This story pretty much picks off right after Batman v Superman. Superman's still dead, and you kind of get the plot kind of thrown out there, and you kind of get a half Zack Snyder film, maybe 1/3 Zack Snyder film, 2/3 Joss Whedon film, because as everyone knows, Zack Snyder left and all that because of his daughter's suicide and whatnot. So I think that also hurt the film, just having 2 different directors. I think that showed not a real consistent direction, no pun intended, but it just, it felt like 2 split films, because you could clearly tell when there's a Snyder part of it, the whole Superman going evil, all of that felt very Snydery. And then I think once they tried to battle the Steppenwolf side of the arc, that felt far more Joss Whedon and all that kind of universe. So overall, I think it was a great film. I think all the actors did well. I think Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher all gave their roles really solid looks on them, and they gave a fresh new take on some of it as well. So I thought that was kind of nice. Ezra Miller, along with his father being cast, Henry Allen, I thought that was perfect because they honestly look alike and they just sound similar. And I know the Flash is kind of like Spider-Man and Tom Holland in this film because he's just basically the kid, but I think he plays it well, and I think he's not truly the Flash. He's this kid who's trying to become a superhero because he saw Superman die, and he saw how the world reacted, and he wants to do something about it. And I think that's important to understand. I don't think they went into it as much depth as they should have, but I think that they scraped the surface of that, and I think that could be brought up in his solo film, which I'm hoping for, because it's got me excited for the Aquaman solo film and the Flash solo film. So I was already excited about the Flash, but Aquaman, this sold me on him, because I think, Jason Momoa, like I said, he does a great job as Aquaman. I just think all the shots under there were really cool. I think seeing Mira's powers being used as well was really cool. I think Amber Heard did a great job as that character. I don't think she was given a lot of time, but I think with what she was given, she did a very solid job. Gal Gadot does a solid job as Wonder Woman. She kind of has to go through this whole arc of really facing herself after, kind of shutting off from the world, and she kind of gets called out on it, and she kind of has to accept it for the first time, and I kind of like that. I think that adds some depth. I think for the most part, her character struggled, and Also, all the ass shots in this film are really disappointing because it kind of just showed that they're just trying to, I don't know, not get in her pants, obviously, but they're just trying to sell her as a sex appeal to a lot of people. And it's not what Wonder Woman is. She's not a sex appeal. I mean, yes, she's very attractive and beautiful, but she's like might. She's love. She's, standing up for the right thing. Doing what's right is really her thing, not looking great with a fine ass and some leather. So I think the movie really needs to address that and just say, hey, are we trying to go for an ass shot here, or are we trying to really make a character in a movie here? So that just bugged me a couple times because literally in my head I could tell myself this shot is only here to show her body. And you know that that's bad when a little nerd kid can see that in the film. So it's not a huge problem, but that's one of the smaller problems I had with it. The villain, Steppenwolf, voiced by Claudine Hines, did a great job as the voice, but just the CGI on him looked like he was a 2003 Xbox 360 villain. Like, it just looks that bad. Like, probably out of God of War. Probably, he really felt like he was just out of that universe. So I think that was a struggle, but I think a lot of movies struggle with the villain. I think that's a problem they can get past pretty quickly if they either get a better villain, or B, they do like a Flashpoint paradox sort of thing where they don't really have to rely on other villains. They can just make their heroes the villains. So I think if they go along that lines, they could easily save this franchise. J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, he was a meh. I love J.K. Simmons as an actor. I think he's terrific. I think he's really turned his head around, but I don't know. This role didn't give me anything. I thought the haircut looked kind of, weird. It didn't look like it was a Gotham Commissioner haircut. It looked like he was a stylist out of New York or some shit. I don't know what the hell's going on with his hair. You can disagree with me. You guys can disagree with me if you want, but his hair just felt off. And I never knew hair could have such an impact on me. Jeremy Irons as Alfred was badass as always. He kind of just dropped all the savage quotes and just kind of shitted on Bruce, but also gave a lot of more depth in the background as well and had a lot of funny one-liners. Henry Cavill, he was a small part in the movie, but also a huge part. Yet at the same time, the CGI on his face was just awful with the mustache and the whole studio's arguing and wouldn't let him shave it. That was ridiculous. Because you could tell, obviously. I mean, even without the report, I think a lot of people would have been able to tell. Not as many, but I still think the people who know movies and have seen Henry Cavill in other films would clearly have been able to have told that that's just complete shit. So that bugged me to a degree, but I think overall, like I said from the beginning, the movie is fun. You get to see them go after the mother boxes once they get him. They bring Superman back to life. Apparently, Superman was supposed to have a longer fight sequence after that, and that was more Zack Snyder's territory, so I think that would have been really cool to see, but I think it's okay that we didn't. And I kind of like what we got. I mean, we got this one family that they were saving the whole time, though, at the end when they were fighting Steppenwolf, so that's just ridiculous. I mean, you guys need to stop with that. Because show a bunch of families if you're trying to show that there's a lot of chaos going on, or just show one shot. Don't keep going back to the exact same family each and every time and have the Flash literally help that one family. So I don't know, it's just small things like that. It seemed like they misused some characters as well, but they have an awesome end credit scene with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke on the boat talking about forming the League of Doom, the evil Justice League, basically, and that just looks awesome because shaved head Lex plus Deathstroke looking awesome, completely comic book version it looks like, from my opinion. And I just think that's something that we don't get a lot. So they're heading in the right direction, and I think they get these gems in their casting and in their writing sometimes, but that they just muck it up when they try to shove everything into one film. So I think overall for Justice League, I would give it about an 8, and maybe a 7. And that's 7 is the score I got on IMDb. But the only reason I say an 8 is just because the child in me came out. I really enjoyed it, getting to see the Flash's powers on screen and him running super fast and seeing Aquaman underwater and all the cool powers under there when Miro was like flinging Steppenwolf around underwater and that tornado water looking thing. That was really cool, and I hope they go past that and they show whole movies on this in their solo films, and hope they really just go balls out and really try to seize people and say, hey, DC has something here, guys. They really do. But if they muck it up and they screw it up, they may honestly screw this Justice League and may have to wait, I would say 5 to 10 years for a new Justice League. But I think to save this, they need to do a Justice League 2, and then they can branch off into their solo films, and then they can come back for a Flashpoint Paradox, or maybe a Injustice, or something else like a Brainiac timeline, and do that way down the line. But you need this next Justice League to save that, because I think without Henry Cavill's CGI shit and only having one director, having a good score, I think it could really pull off into something big and also add more depth to each character and setting them off into their own journeys as well. I think that's what they need, because if they jump to solo films, it'll kind of hurt them in the long run, because there'll be too much jumping. So, and that's kind of what I have a fear for Marvel, because I think they will run into continuity problems when they come up with Captain Marvel and all that kind of stuff, because that's going back in time, and then all of a sudden you get kind of wonky. So if you're going to set up a universe, you got to do it to perfection, and Marvel has done it, and they could still run into problems. So DC only has a lot more problems if they don't start getting on their shit. But I would say go see Justice League if you haven't. It's definitely worth it. The CGI is a little bad at times, but honestly, it's definitely worth seeing. And thank you guys. I'll be doing some more TV reviews, obviously more movie reviews, and I'll just be shooting out more videos as well. Thank you guys for your patience again, and if you have anything, feel free to comment in the section below. I really appreciate it. Have a great week, you guys.